So in every language there is a concept of consonants and vowels, and the same is the concept in Arabic also. But in Arabic there are two additions, this is in every language. But in Arabic there are two additions. One is the plain Dhamma, plain Fatha and plain Kasra. They also act as vowels. And then the inverted Dhamma, stretched Fatha and stretched Kasra, they also act as vowels, but they stretch the sound more. They just move the sound and they stretch the sound. This is just the movement. Ku. K sound is ku, ka, ki. Then ku, ka and ki. Stretching. One is just the movement, other is the stretching. So, as in English, with the change of vowels, we very frequently change the forms. In Arabic also, with the change of vowels, very frequently the forms will change. Now, forms in every language are in different categories. For example, one change is changing the verb to an abstract noun. This is also a conversion in English. Then there is a change of form from first form to second form to third form. Then the adjective, the conventional adjective, then the comparative degree and superlative degree. No, these are different forms. So, when we are the students of English, when we have the format of the sentence of an English construction, and so we study different parts of speech, and in every part of speech we understand how the conversions are made, right? When you are studying the adjective, what you will be taught? How to make the comparative and superlative degrees. When you are being taught the number, you will be taught how singular is converted to plural. When you are studying the gender chapter, you will be taught how the masculine gender is converted to the feminine gender. And mostly the changes will be of the vowel sounds, and certain known additions will be made. For example, ION in the end is a very common addition in English. To form the abstract nouns, what do? You usually add ION in the end. And when we learn this subject, we come to know that in the end ION is added. Sometimes it is SION, sometimes it is TION. But since that is known to us, that when it in the end there is ION, SION or TION, mostly it is the abstract noun. And if it is a word is ending at D or ED, we have in our mind, oh, it is usually the second or third form of the verb. But all these categories are studied and taught separately, then there is no confusion. But if we start learning one from this, the other from this, the third from this, then we will be in trouble. So systematically, these things are to be kept in mind, that as here are the ing is a known addition, ION is a known addition, D and ED is a known addition, and R or est in the case of comparative and superlative, R and S, stronger, strongest, bigger, biggest. So these are the shapes which are known to us. So in Arabic language also, these things are to be kept in mind, that we will come to know mostly the changes will be in the vowels. But in addition to vowels, there are certain additions also, additional letters will also be added, and in the categories which we will study one by one, we will come to know the additions. that what shape a particular word in a certain category adopts, if that is in our mind, the tracks are there, whenever a similar word comes, immediately it will ring into our mind, oh yes, it is like this. In Arabic, whenever the letters join, they form words. Sometimes a word is comprising of a letter, like in English, this is a pen. So, is a letter also, and in this sentence, this is a pen. This is not a letter, although it is a letter, but in that construction of a sentence, it's a word. In Arabic also, sometimes the words may be comprising of one letter. As in chemistry, normally the molecules, they are comprising of more than one atoms, but the definition of the molecule is the smallest particle which has an independent existence. So sometimes, for example, sodium, calcium, these have got one atom is a molecule also, but in case of hydrogen, single atom of hydrogen is not a molecule. Two atoms when joined together, they make a molecule. So these are the things which are there in every language. Sometimes there will be one letter which will be a letter also, and it will be a word also. Now we are coming to words. Usually what happens is that letters join to form words, and words can be meaningful and meaningless. We are not concerned with the meaningless words. We are only concerned with the meaningful words, and every meaningful word of Arabic language is known as kalima. This ta, according to the principle of tajweed, this will not be pronounced kalima, it will be pronounced as H sound, kalima. Every meaningful word of Arabic language is known as kalima, and this is of three types in Arabic language. In English grammar, it's very funny that there is no categorization in English grammar. All the kalimat are all the parts of speech. They are separately mentioned. A whole list of the parts of speech is there. In Arabic, Urdu and Persian grammar, they are categorized into three. We are presently studying Arabic, so in Arabic there are three parts of speech, are three types of kalima. Aqsam means kinds. Singular will be qism and the plural will be aqsam. Aqsamul kalima, types of kalima. Aqsamul kalima, types of kalima. Angrezi, if you want to compare this with the English grammar, you can say the parts of speech. There are three only in Arabic. The first is ism. Difficult to pronounce because there is no vowel in between. Ism. It is not to be pronounced ism, but ism. Nadeem, how to pronounce? Ism. Ism. In English, noun. By definition, ism is the name of an object, person, place or act. Object, person, place or act. Keep a question mark in your mind at present when we will study just now the verb, then it will be clear why act is here. So the name of an object, name of a person, name of a place, or name of an act is called ism. Then number 2 is fi'l. Again difficult to pronounce. Fi'l. This is vowel and this A is a consonant here. Fi'l. This is for ayn. Fi'l. Compared with the verb of English. Now the definition of verb in Arabic is a kalima which indicates an act or position with reference to one or two tenses, that is past, present or future tense. There has to be some reference of any or two of the tenses, then it will get the status of verb, otherwise it will be included into the noun. For example, to come and come, came. To come does not indicate any tense, so this will be included according to the Arabic definition into the ism. But these two, they indicate the time or tense, so they will be qualified to be listed under the verb. So to come is the name of the act. The name of the act of coming is in English to come or coming. Is coming, was coming, will be coming. Now the tense is there. But simply coming, it doesn't contain any tense. So coming can be having the status of ism, but is coming, was coming, will be coming, shall be coming. Now this is a verb. Then the third is harf. This is no parallel of in English, so there is no parallel word for this. Harf. It is a part of speech. Obviously it is a meaningful word, only then it can be a kalima, which although has a meaning, but practically it means nothing until and unless it is joined with an ism or fi'l. For example, in English, I am taking just the example of preposition. In English, in is a preposition. You know the meanings of in, but you just keep on saying in, and you make the tasbih of 100 times or 1000 times, it doesn't mean anything. Although in is a meaningful word, but saying just in doesn't mean anything. Why? Until unless you say in the basement, in the room, in the car, right, in the office. Now this in is meaningful. It conveys the meaning, although the word is meaningful in itself, but it doesn't convey any meaning. It doesn't mean anything practically until and unless it is joined with a verb or a noun. So this is known as harf. In English, I have just given you the example of preposition, but in Arabic there are many categories of huruf. Harf is singular and the plural is huruf. You can write down with each of them the plurals also. Plural of ism is asma'u. Asma. The plural of fi'l is af'al. And the plural of harf is huruf. We have already read huruful hija. Huruf. So ism, asma, fi'l, af'al, and harf, huruf. And now you can note the interesting thing. Here as I told you, this first is Hamza, so it will be there. Look, this is there, Seen is there and Meme is there. When we have made plural, there is the addition of this Hamza and addition of this Alif. So vowels have changed, number of vowels has increased. Similarly here, Fa, Ain, Lam, all three are consonants. So Fa, Ain, Lam are there. There is only the addition of certain vowels. This Hamza is the addition and this Alif is the addition. Then Ha, Ra and Fa, all three are the consonants. So they are there. Ha is there, Ra is there and Fa is there, and only a vaw has been added in the middle to make huruf. If you revise huruful hija, the Arabic alphabets 28 or 29, then the concept of consonants and vowels, then we learned about the meaningful, all the really meaningful words in Arabic are called kalimat. Kalima is singular and kalimat is the plural. That also you can note it down. Kalimat. So you won't call it kalmat, kalimat. Singular being kalima. There are three types of kalima in Arabic: ism, fi'l and harf. Ism is the noun of an object, a person, a place or an act. Second being the verb. Verb is the kalima which indicates the act or position with reference to at least a tense out of the three, that is the past tense, present tense and future tense. And just to remember, you can write it down. Past tense in Arabic is called madi. Present tense is called hal, and future tense is called mustaqbal. So madi, hal and mustaqbal, past, present and future.
الذين آمنوا وتطمئن قلوبهم بذكر الله